So the difference is not whether you have protectors, it's whether your protector is running you or if your conscious adult is leading it. Because our unhealthy protectors are the ones that take over automatically. They're fast, they're reactive. That's why sometimes I say they're sneaky and they don't check in with you. This is why you might say yes, and then days later go, why did I agree to that? It's why you might shut down and not even understand why. You might spiral into fear-based thinking and not be able to get out. And you might be engaging in numbing behavior without even realizing you're doing it.
Welcome to Grow with Robin Breckenridge, a podcast about stepping into the most fully expressed, aligned, and conscious version of yourself. Here, we dive into the real work of personal growth, establishing boundaries, understanding your patterns, building self-trust, healing emotional wounds, and creating relationships that feel safe, authentic, and fulfilling. I'm Robin, a life and relationship coach, and in each episode, we'll explore the tools, insights, and conversations that will help you not just improve your life and relationships, but truly transform them. You don't have to just go through it. Let's grow through it, and let's do it together.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Grow. I am about to head off to the gym, so I am recording this in some gym clothes. I had a big grand plan of recording this, had it all written out, had the topic, and I don't know. I woke up today feeling like a hot ass mess. Not sure if this is relatable to some of you out there. Lost my glasses yesterday. I found them over 24 hours later in my son's bed. Why? I couldn't begin to tell you. It's a mystery, but lost those. So had to do a full day of sessions yesterday with no glasses and no ability to see up close without my eyes protesting and having a headache all day. So I had that, and that rarely happens. I do lose my glasses a lot, but I always find them within a relative amount of time. And then I had this unfortunate experience of having a really, really, really bad gel manicure. So I have Band-Aids on my finger because my nails have literally ripped off. And not just broken, like the entire nail, you know, the one they put over your nail, shooting across the room 3 times in the last 48 hours. So it's kind of hard to not feel like a hot ass mess when your nails are flying off and shooting across the room. However, it reminded me that often I have people come into sessions and they'll say things like, I feel dumb, I feel behind, I feel like a mess. And then I always say, wow, look at the languaging you're using. You said the word I feel. Feelings aren't facts, but they're good information. So guess what that means? I feel like a hot ass mess. Am I actually a hot ass mess? No. Do I feel like one? Yes. So just remember, pay attention to your own languaging. You know, if I don't get curious with that, I can tell myself all day that I'm a hot ass mess. But the truth is I feel like one. So that inspired my episode today because I thought, you know what? This pre-planned thing, it's not going with my vibe today. So I decided, because I'm kind of coming out of a little cycle in my own life where I was really watching some procrastination happen like in live time, just like, okay, seeing it, not really much I can do to intervene, but continuing to get curious about it. And it reminded me to talk about how we have these protective mechanisms on board. And even when we are going towards things that logically we know are not good for us or are not healthy for us, there actually might be a protective part of you showing up. Like we are actively working on protecting ourselves all the time. It's just that if we don't know who's behind the wheel and which part of self is up protecting us, then often we have our unhealthy protectors up and we don't even realize it. And we might not even realize we're even in a protective experience with ourselves. So my procrastination is really what inspired this episode today. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we can be in moments of self-abandonment and leaving ourselves and not even realizing it, and not realizing that there is a maladaptive protector coming up that is protecting us through means, this would be like our patterning. I know we've done a lot of episodes on that, but protecting us through means that ultimately cause disconnection, push us away from our integrity, and then actually end up not being helpful at all. So in these experiences, we might recognize that maybe we feel like we're getting hurt by other people. But what's actually happening is you're getting hurt in the moment because you have left yourself. And I don't mean that in a blaming way. Like, I mean, I do this for a living. I've been doing this for 10 years. And I, had, at least a few days of not even realizing that my procrastination was up and in full effect. So this is not from a place of blame or judgment. This is from a place of curiosity, because what's happening is our default protective mechanisms are coming up. And most of the time we don't even know. So I'm saying this to empower you, not to get a judgmental lens and, put you under the microscope. Because once we see these patterns, then we can start to choose how we want to interact with them. I've had a lot of questions about self-abandonment, where people are like, give us more examples. What does self-abandonment look like? And the truth is self-abandonment is happening, often, all the time, silently, in a sneaky way. So when we leave ourselves, it doesn't often look very dramatic. Often it's very subtle, quiet, and it's happening in live time. It's the moments when you say yes, when your inner truth says no. It's the moment you feel that something is off, but you tell yourself you're overreacting. It's the moments when you want to say how you feel or be honest, but you don't want to be too much and risk the relationship, or risk someone getting mad at you. Or the moments that you feel hurt, but you act like you're fine. And then later, you might burn with some resentment, confusion, feel disconnected, maybe even a little crazy from that interaction with that person. And you're trying to figure out, why do I feel like this? And the answer is because you weren't with yourself in that moment. Now, if we could get a DeLorean time machine and go back in time to when you were in that moment with that person, there is actually a split second that we could probably find where you were in touch with your truth, your needs, your boundaries, and then something else steps in. And I always call it the first voice, because guilt has been an emotion that I have had to learn and practice how to manage over and over and over again in relationships. And so what I know now is that my guilt voice, it still talks to me first. It will say things like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's only an hour of your time. Don't make them upset or uncomfortable. You might get rejected if you do that. Someone could get mad at you. And in that moment, you leave yourself in order to, quote unquote, stay safe. Now, I say quote unquote because are you actually safe in that experience? Emotionally safe? Probably not, right? But you're overriding your well-being to prioritize the connection, someone else's comfort or lack of feeling awkward, the relationship over your well-being. So is that ultimately safe? No. And it's why one of my kind of operating principles in life is that my main responsibility is to keep myself emotionally safe. Because if I do not keep myself emotionally safe, I pollute my body with all types of negative vibrational energy, resentment, anger towards myself or other people, feeling victimized, shame, guilt, etc. So the default part that comes up, that's agreeable, that's nice, it's not a weakness and you're not doing it wrong. We're just talking about how do you stay connected with yourself and others at the same time. So that part of you is the part that learned to protect you by keeping you smaller, asking for less, saying less, claiming less space. So it protects you by keeping you a smaller version of yourself. So at some point in your life, you didn't have the tools you have now. So your system had to adapt. And those adaptations are still running in your day-to-day relationships now. So let me give you some examples of what this can look like in real life. You're in a conversation, something doesn't sit right with you, you feel it in your body, but instead of saying something, you smile, you nod, you let it go. And later you're replaying it, you're telling your partner how annoying, how irritated, how unseen you felt. But the part of you that came up and overrode your own truth was trying to protect you by not risking the connection with the other person. That isn't the most resourced part of you. What do we have now? We have the ability to have hard conversations. We have the ability to set a boundary. We have the ability to adjust the level of access people have to us. Here's another example. Maybe something feels off in a relationship. And instead of asking directly, you analyze it, you replay it, and you try to solve it in your head. That maladaptive protective part is saying, hey, you know what? If we can just understand this, we'll be safe. Maybe you're in a relationship and someone gets close. Or you start to talk about something vulnerable or with a lot of emotion, and suddenly you feel your energy pull back. You get quiet, you shut down, you disconnect. And that protective part is saying, hey, this is too much. You're not safe. Let's stay safe by not going there. Or maybe you're in a relationship where you're feeling rejected, anxious, not good enough. And instead of sitting with it and getting curious with it, you distract, you scroll, you reach for something. And that protective part is saying, hey, if you feel this feeling, you will not be safe. Let's get away from the feeling. Now, all of these moments have one thing in common. You left yourself in order to, quote unquote, stay safe. And that all makes sense because at one point in all of those examples, that was the safest thing you could do at the time, given the skills, resources, and information you had at the time. Now, this is the hard part because I've been teaching boundaries for a long time, practicing them for even longer. And I'm at the point in my own boundary work where I know when someone's crossed a boundary and I check myself because I'm having a conversation with myself, like, I can't believe they did that to me again, the nerve, whatever it is. And that second voice will kick in and I'll go, okay, girl, where did we miss a boundary? And that isn't to put all of the responsibility on me because sometimes people act a fool, and that is legit. And also, I know that I always have the power to protect myself by setting limits. And that shifts me from feeling like a victim to other people's behavior, choices, etc. And it shifts me to an empowered place where I always have agency. So it's not just what someone did to you that hurts you. It's that there are some times you weren't with yourself when it happened. Now, there was a time when I was recovering from an unhealthy relationship where I spent a lot of time saying, he did this to me and what a horrible person and what a messed up guy. And then I had this moment, and this is before I had any kind of language for this type of thing. But I guess reflecting back, I was getting curious. And I thought, well, what did I do in the relationship? Like, did I do anything, unhealthy in those day-to-day interactions? And I went, well, I kept going back. And that's not to victim blame at all. This is from a place of self-curiosity. And I went, why did I keep going back? Like, why did I have no healthy protector on board? And that would be because I did not know how to manage the disconnection, the rejection, and the ending of the relationship or the conflict. And so it felt safer to go back and get out of the conflict than to leave because I didn't have the infrastructure yet. It truly wasn't safe for me to leave. So that was a beautiful starting point to stop making the work about someone else's behavior and to start looking at mine. So there are times where, this is like the hard part about looking in the mirror, because I just think that relationships pull mirrors up all the time. And when we think we're taking inventory on someone else's mirror, we have not looked in ours. And it's not for the weak. Like, it's not easy to look at yourself and your patterning and things that you're bringing that might not be healthy, and to get curious about those things. So there might be times where you didn't speak up, you didn't honor your feelings, you didn't protect what you needed. And that's where we disconnect from ourselves. And we probably don't have consciousness or awareness around the fact that an unhealthy protector has stepped up, and that we even have choice to choose a healthier protective mechanism that doesn't require us to leave ourselves. So let's talk about healthy versus unhealthy protectors, because the goal isn't to get rid of these parts of you. You need them. I think probably one of the biggest goals in our life is to love all parts of us. Whether we like it or not, this human experience is one giant contradiction. I will speak for myself. I am kind, I can be unkind. I am honest, I can be dishonest. I am non-judgmental, I can be really judgmental. The truth is, I am all of it, and so are you. We have been taught, and there's an awesome book behind me by Gabor Mate called The Myth of Normal, which is just an awesome book on this topic. We have been taught to suppress and hide the human parts of us. So what do? We go out on Instagram. I mean, to be quite honest, guys, this is why I don't put a lot of my life on Instagram, because it's not an accurate representation of my life. And that's okay. It's okay that it's not an accurate representation of my life, but I don't feel ethically aligned with my integrity if I'm playing the game of I put all of my highlight reels on, but then I come on and do a bunch of videos about the human part of our life. So I keep that part off of social media because I just don't think it's entirely accurate. And we don't live in a society where I'm going to get on and go, my perimenopause is kicking my butt and I have brain fog and I don't feel like myself today. We just don't really do that. I guess the perimenopause example is not that great of an example because there are people doing that, but I am not going to get on crying about my own insecurities or the, continual patterns in my own personal relationship, because that's just not the society we live in, guys. So because of that, we will try to exile the human parts, even from our own relationship to ourselves. And we are here to love all aspects of ourselves on this journey, which means we have to love these maladaptive protectors as well, because they are young, inexperienced from a life perspective parts of us that didn't even have fully developed brains. We're in situations that most likely now would be extremely challenging for you to handle. Like when I listen to the stories of my clients' childhoods, and I think, what if as an adult version of you or whatever age you are now, could you imagine being in that and not having ChatGPT or, the internet to search things, or your therapist or your life coach, or, all of the many tools we have now? Can you imagine being 6 and dealing with that? Like, my not enough wound is a mother effer. What was that like at 7, 8, 14, 16? My gosh. So those maladaptive protective parts need love too. They also need an emotionally attuned parent or leader. That's the number one thing we need to do here. So the difference is not whether you have protectors, it's whether your protector is running you or if your conscious adult is leading it. Because our unhealthy protectors are the ones that take over automatically. They're fast, they're reactive. That's why sometimes I say they're sneaky and they don't check in with you. This is why you might say yes, and then days later go, why did I agree to that? It's why you might shut down and not even understand why. You might spiral into fear-based thinking and not be able to get out. And you might be engaging in numbing behavior without even realizing you're doing it. So these more unhealthy protectors, they're not bad. They're just running on old information. Healthy protectors still do the same job. They protect you. They just do it with a more resourced, conscious part of you leading. And they protect you in a way that doesn't require you to abandon yourself. And that is a huge shift. So instead of abandoning yourself to keep the peace in a relationship, you might say something like, hey, I care about this and I care about you and I want to honor you and our relationship by being honest. There's something here that's not sitting right with me or doesn't feel good. Or instead of controlling everything, we might say something to ourselves like, I'm not really sure how this is going to go, but I know that I can surrender this over to that which has all the power, and I can trust myself that I will stay with myself and handle whatever comes my way. Maybe instead of shutting down, you might say to yourself, you know what? I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I can stay present in this a minute longer. Instead of escaping, you might get curious with yourself and say, hey, something's coming up for me. Let me slow down and get curious. It is such a slight shift. We are literally pulling the car over with all of our parts of self and going, hey, teenager, you're 15. I no longer need you manning the job of being my protector. Why don't you get in the back seat? We have AirPods now. We have music on our phone. We have all these fun things we can do. I'm going to get behind the wheel and I'm going to take over the job of keeping us actually safe and in connection with ourselves. So healthy protection does not disconnect you from yourself. It protects you while staying connected to yourself. So let's run it through a couple scenarios. Someone asks you to make plans, whatever, you automatically say yes, of course, and leave yourself because maybe this is someone you don't want to invest time and energy with, or you have a super busy week, whatever. If we invite in your healthy protector, you might take a deep breath, slight pause, and go, hey, let me think about that and get back to you. You stay connected to them and yourself. And you give yourself a little bit of space to think about it. Same scenario, different self-leadership. This is where your conscious adult comes in. It's the part of you that can pause, notice, not act on urgency, choose. And in my experience, that conscious adult is the second voice. It's the voice that goes, yeah, it would just be an hour and I could, but then I wouldn't be taking care of myself, or I would be forfeiting the plans I made today to take care of myself. It's the part of you that has the awareness that a younger part is coming up. When I go back to my procrastination is an unhealthy protector. It is saying if you avoid this thing that's causing you stress, you're going to feel better. And although sometimes like momentarily that can happen, what's actually happening is I'm building anxiety and it's just tapping me on the shoulder over and over and over again. So when the conscious adult part comes up, it can go, hey, teenager, I know that worked in high school. I know that worked when you had, deadlines coming up and you didn't have enough support to do it. But I got this from here. And I'm not going to leave you alone in the stress. And I'm not going to leave you alone in you having to figure out the solution of this stress. I believe that awareness, especially in the beginning, but I think it's true throughout your work, it's not always before something happens. Sometimes it happens before where you are intentional and you go, hey, I know I'm about to be with someone who's going to really push me to disclose information I don't feel safe with, make plans in advance, whatever it is. Sometimes your awareness comes in the moment and you go, ooh, that person's doing that thing that doesn't feel safe. Often it comes after the fact. And we touch into that awareness because we're experiencing the, uncomfortable emotions that follow, like resentment, like feeling victimized, anger, etc. So please know that if you leave a situation and you reflect back and go, hey, did I leave myself possibly in that situation? All good. It doesn't matter when awareness hits, as long as it hits. And I believe that's one of the things we can trust in this life, that when you turn the light of consciousness on, I've never been able to shut it off. I might momentarily disconnect from it, depending on what part of self is up, but it always comes back around and taps me on the shoulder and goes, hey girl, wake up. I think we have a really great partner in this nervous system of ours where it is just programmed to not let you stay asleep. That doesn't mean you don't have free will and you can't hit the snooze button on that over and over and over again, and even for decades, but you will suffer in that experience. So my invitation for you guys in this episode is just to start noticing. This is not something you will ever master because we are very, 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 very complex people. I am still learning where my inner child, my teenager, are impacted in my life. I'm still learning more about the experiences that impacted them. And I believe I will be on that journey for the rest of my life. I think I am on this journey of getting to know myself more deeply. So this is not a finish line that we're going to get to where you're like, stopped abandoning myself 100%. That was decades ago. You will for sure abandon yourself less. It will become less of a default setting in you, but I guarantee you somewhere, somehow, we are all still doing it to some degree. I believe that we have even been conditioned in the society that we live in to abandon ourselves in a lot of ways that I'm still working out and uncovering. So this isn't about mastery. It's about practice and developing a muscle. So I want you guys to start shining the light of consciousness and awareness on self-abandonment and unhealthy protectors this week. So some great questions to consider. Where do I leave myself the most? Is it to stay connected? Is it to avoid discomfort, to feel in control, to not feel at all? And what am I afraid would happen if I didn't? And then one of my personal favorite questions is, what would it look like to stay with myself right here? The most important thing we can do is stay in a safe connection with ourselves. I don't know if there's anything that you can do in your life that would impact every single part of your life more than that. I had a consultation with someone this week, and, as I do in my consultations, I just kind of turn it over to the person to tell me a little bit about the challenges that are going on in their life. And this person said to me, is it even possible for me to fix these things? Because it feels like it's not even realistic, that I couldn't live a life without anxiety and self-doubt and all of these things. And I looked this person dead in the eye and said, oh, no, it's totally possible. I'm living proof of it. Am I perfect? No. Do I not have challenges and struggles? No. Do I still have emotional growing edges every single day? Yes. Do I live in the level of pain and suffering that I did before? No. It doesn't matter how long your unhealthy protectors have been coming up. It doesn't matter how many millions or trillions of times you've engaged in self-abandonment. Right now, this moment, new choice. So you are not broken. Your patterns, your feelings you're not locked into this. You're not bad at relationships, but you are someone who learned how to protect yourself in ways that made sense at the time. But you're not that version of you anymore. And the more you learn to stay with yourself in those small, quiet moments, the safer you become. And it's not because you're in control of everything, but because I don't have to abandon myself anymore. And guess what? You don't have to get 100% on this test. If you abandon yourself 1% less, or with one person, or with one situation in your life, that stuff starts to spread. We start to experience something I like to call inner peace. And man, when you start to feel that, it becomes a lot less desirable to suffer, to abandon and neglect yourself, because we want more of that feeling. And that feeling is not reliant on anything outside of you. It lives inside of you. And what lives inside of you cannot be taken away from you. Doesn't matter if you lose a relationship, a person, a job, a title, your looks, your youth, that stays with you. So think about that this week. I will not see you guys next week because I am going on vacation and I am going to be chilling with my family in some warm weather because, yep, it is, let's see, end of March. And it was snowing here yesterday. And although I don't mind a season change and I'm used to it, I've been living in Michigan for a long time, I'm over it. I'm officially over it. So I'm going to go do some relaxing and restoring, and I'm going to be present with myself and my family. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care of yourself. I'm proud of you for being here.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for being here and for doing this work. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Come connect with me over on TikTok at Robin Breckenridge or Instagram at Coach with Robin, where I share even more insights, tools, and conversations around boundaries, self-trust, relational healing, and so much more. And just a quick reminder, this podcast is for educational and personal growth purposes only. The insights and tools I share are based on my experience as a life and relationship coach and are meant for general guidance. Each person's story is unique, and the nuances of individual experiences can't always be addressed in this format. What's shared here may not be applicable to every situation, especially those involving abuse, oppression, severe mental illness, or systematic harm. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional or emergency resources. Thank you for listening and for showing up for yourself in this way. Take care, and I'll see you next time.